Imagine waking up every day knowing exactly where your time is going and what actions are driving you towards success. What if you could stop procrastinating, eliminate distractions, and finally take control of your life? Stay tuned because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how I turn my time-wasting habits into a winning strategy. When I first started evaluating how I was spending my time, I realized that being busy wasn't the same as being productive. I was caught in a cycle where I was doing a lot but achieving very little. It was as if I was running on a treadmill, expending energy but going nowhere. That's when I discovered the power of purpose. Purpose gives meaning to your time. It transforms random actions into intentional steps toward a meaningful destination. Without purpose, even the most diligent efforts can feel empty, and days can slip by without leaving any lasting impact. I realize that many people, including myself, confuse motion with progress. We convince ourselves that because we're always on the go, we're moving forward. But the truth is, activity without direction is like a ship sailing without a compass. You can be moving fast, but if you're not headed toward your destination, you'll eventually get lost. Purpose acts as that compass. It gives you clarity and ensures that your efforts are aligned with where you truly want to go. Once I discovered my purpose, I stopped saying yes to everything and started saying yes only to what aligned with my vision. I realized that every decision I made was either taking me closer to my goals or pulling me further away. Purpose gave me the power to filter out distractions and focus on what really mattered. I began to see that time isn't something you spend, it's something you invest. And the best investment is always in things that align with your ultimate vision. Purpose also brings passion. When you know why you're doing something, you become unstoppable. Your energy levels increase, your focus sharpens, and your determination grows. Purpose fuels consistency because it gives you a reason to keep going even when things get tough. It eliminates the need for constant motivation because purpose becomes the driving force behind your actions. The moment I aligned my time with my purpose, everything changed. I went from merely existing to actively creating a future that I was proud of. I stopped wasting time because I realized that every minute invested in my purpose was a step toward the life I desired. Purpose doesn't just change what you do, it changes how you value time, and that shift is what turns wasted hours into winning results. One of the biggest reasons people never reach their potential is not because they lack talent or opportunity. It's because they are constantly distracted. Distractions are the silent killers of progress. They don't show up as obvious enemies. Instead, they disguise themselves as harmless habits. Social media scrolls, endless notifications, and conversations that add no real value. I realized that while I was busy checking my phone, responding to every message, and jumping from one task to another, my dreams were quietly slipping away. The scary thing about distractions is that they don't feel dangerous in the moment, but over time, they consume hours, days, and even years of your life, leaving you wondering where all that time went. I had to confront a harsh truth. Every time I gave in to distractions, I was trading my future for temporary pleasure. It wasn't easy to admit, but once I did, everything changed. I realized that success requires focus, and focus requires discipline. I started to analyze my day and identify the things that were stealing my time. I asked myself, what are the activities that keep me busy but don't move me closer to my goals? This question helped me uncover the hidden distractions that were draining my energy and slowing down my progress. Eliminating distractions wasn't just about cutting out social media or turning off notifications. It was about setting clear boundaries and being intentional with my time. I learned that if I didn't guard my time, the world would steal it from me. So I started creating a distraction-free environment. I blocked out dedicated work periods where I turned off everything that wasn't aligned with my task. I stopped multitasking because I realized that trying to do everything meant I was doing nothing well. One of the most powerful changes I made was learning to say no. I stopped agreeing to things that didn't align with my purpose. Every yes to a distraction is a no to your dreams. I had to remind myself that success doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing less but doing it with focus. By eliminating distractions, I gained back control over my time and, more importantly, my life. I stopped being a victim of my schedule and became the master of my destiny. Every moment I reclaimed from distractions became a step closer to winning in life. One of the greatest lessons I learned on my journey to success was that not everything deserves my time and attention. I used to think that being busy meant I was being productive, but I was wrong. I was constantly moving, juggling tasks, and checking things off my list. Yet I was getting nowhere. It wasn't until I realized that being busy doesn't mean being effective that everything started to change. The secret was learning how to prioritize what mattered most. Prioritization is the ability to distinguish between what's urgent and what's important. Most people get trapped in the urgency cycle, constantly reacting to things that demand immediate attention but don't move them closer to their long-term goals. I had to shift my mindset and start asking myself, is this task moving me toward my vision or just keeping me busy? When I began to focus on what mattered most, I realized that 80% of my results came from just 20% of my efforts. This principle, known as the Pareto principle, showed me that not all tasks are created equal. Some tasks have the power to create massive impact, while others drain time without adding real value. Once I grasped this concept, I started focusing on high-impact activities, the ones that aligned with my goals and had the potential to bring the greatest results. I also learned that saying no is just as powerful as saying yes. Every time I said yes to something that didn't align with my purpose, I was saying no to something that did. I had to become ruthless about protecting my time and energy. I stopped feeling guilty about turning down requests that didn't serve my bigger vision, because I realized that every distraction I eliminated gave me more time to focus on what truly mattered. Prioritization also taught me the value of planning ahead. Instead of waking up and reacting to the day, I started planning my days the night before. I made a habit of identifying my top 3 priorities for the next day so that when I woke up, I was already clear on where to direct my energy. This simple habit gave me control over my time and kept me focused on what truly mattered. The moment I mastered the art of prioritization, I stopped feeling overwhelmed and started making real progress. I realized that success doesn't come from doing everything, it comes from doing the right things consistently. By focusing on what mattered most, I stopped wasting time and started winning. One of the biggest breakthroughs in my journey to success came when I realized that success isn't built on big occasional actions. It's built on small, consistent habits. I used to rely on motivation to get things done, but the problem with motivation is that it's unreliable. Some days I felt inspired, but other days I didn't. And on those days when motivation was missing, I found myself procrastinating and making excuses. That's when I discovered the power of routines. A routine doesn't depend on how you feel. It's a system that keeps you moving forward even when you don't feel like it. I realized that if I could create a routine that aligned with my goals, I wouldn't need motivation. I would just need to follow the system. I started by identifying the key activities that would move me closer to my goals and then built them into my daily routine. I didn't try to overhaul my entire life overnight. Instead, I focused on making small, manageable changes. I learned that consistency is more important than intensity. It's not about doing something huge once in a while. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard. Over time, those small actions became habits, and those habits created momentum. Building a winning routine also required me to eliminate the randomness from my day. I used to wake up without a clear plan, which meant I was constantly reacting to whatever came my way. But when I started structuring my day with intention, I took control of my time. I set specific times for the most important tasks and made sure that those tasks got done before anything else. My mornings became sacred. I dedicated that time to personal growth, reflection, and planning my day. This one change alone had a massive impact on my productivity and focus. I also learned the importance of creating systems that made success easier. For example, instead of relying on willpower to make good choices, I set up my environment in a way that encouraged positive habits. I removed distractions, prepared everything I needed the night before, and made it as easy as possible to stick to my routine. As I stayed committed to my routine, I realized that success wasn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It was about creating consistency. My routine became the foundation that kept me grounded and focused even when life got chaotic. And that consistency turned small daily actions into massive long-term results. By developing a winning routine, I stopped wasting time and started winning every single day. One of the most powerful lessons I learned on my journey was that time is the most valuable resource I have. Unlike money, I can't earn more time. Once it's gone forever. But for a long time, I didn't treat my time that way. I let it slip through my fingers, thinking I had all the time in the world. I filled my days with activities that kept me busy but didn't move me closer to my goals. I was constantly putting out fires, reacting to whatever came my way, and ending the day feeling exhausted but unaccomplished. I knew something had to change. I needed to stop letting life control my time and start taking charge of it. The first thing I did was start tracking where my time was going. I kept a journal and wrote down everything I did for a week. What I discovered shocked me. I was spending hours on things that didn't add any real value to my life. Mindless scrolling, unnecessary conversations, and tasks that could have been delegated or eliminated. Seeing how much time I was wasting made me realize that if I wanted to succeed, I had to become intentional with my time. I learned that effective time management isn't about doing more, it's about doing less, but doing it with focus. I started by identifying my highest value tasks, the ones that had the biggest impact on my goals. I asked myself, what are the activities that will bring me closer to my vision? Once I had that clarity, I made it a priority to schedule those tasks first. I treated them like unbreakable appointments and gave them my best energy. I also learned the power of time blocking. Instead of letting my day unfold randomly, I started assigning specific blocks of time to the most important tasks. I protected those blocks like they were meetings with someone important, because they were. They were meetings with my future self. I also built buffers into my schedule to handle unexpected interruptions, which kept me from feeling overwhelmed. Another powerful shift I made was learning to set boundaries. I stopped letting other people's emergencies dictate my schedule. I realized that just because something was urgent for someone else didn't mean it had to become my priority. By protecting my time and focusing on high-impact activities, I stopped being reactive and started being proactive. Managing my time effectively gave me control over my life, and that control turned wasted hours into meaningful progress. One of the most significant barriers that held me back for years was procrastination. I would constantly put things off, thinking I would get to them later, but that later never came. I would tell myself, I'll start tomorrow, only to find myself repeating the same excuse the next day, and the next, and the next. The reality was that procrastination was not just a bad habit, it was a mindset. It was a way of thinking that told me that I didn't have to act now because I could always act later. But what I didn't realize was that putting things off today meant more work, more stress, and even greater regret tomorrow. I was delaying my success without even knowing it. The moment I realized this, I knew I had to make a drastic change. I started by analyzing why I procrastinated in the first place. It wasn't laziness or lack of motivation. It was fear. Fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, and fear of things not turning out perfectly. But what I didn't understand at the time was that perfectionism is often just a form of procrastination. I was waiting for the perfect moment, but that perfect moment never arrived. It took me some time to understand that the act of doing something, even imperfectly, was far better than doing nothing at all. To break free from procrastination, I first had to shift my mindset. I had to stop waiting for motivation to strike and start creating the habit of taking action, regardless of how I felt. I learned that success isn't about waiting for the right moment or the perfect set of conditions. It's about making the decision to act now and building momentum from there. I reminded myself that action creates clarity. Once I started taking steps forward, no matter how small, I began to see progress, and that progress motivated me to keep going. One of the most effective tools I used to combat procrastination was the 5-minute rule. I would tell myself, I'll work on this for just 5 minutes. The goal wasn't to finish the task, but simply to start. Often, once I got past those initial 5 minutes, I found that I could continue much longer than I'd originally planned. This approach helped me overcome the mental block of getting started. I realized that the hardest part of any task is simply beginning. Once you take the first step, momentum kicks in and it becomes easier to keep moving forward. I also learned to break tasks down into smaller, more manageable pieces. Looking at a large project as a whole would overwhelm me and trigger procrastination. But when I broke it down into smaller tasks, it became much less intimidating. Instead of focusing on the end result, I focused on one small, actionable step at a time. This made the task feel less overwhelming and gave me a sense of accomplishment with each completed step. Another key to overcoming procrastination was developing a sense of urgency. I realized that time was my most limited resource, and if I kept delaying things, I would only be wasting precious moments that I could never get back. The more I delayed, the further away I got from my goals. I started thinking about what I would regret not doing if I didn't act today. That thought became a powerful motivator. I began to see that procrastination wasn't just delaying my work, it was delaying my dreams. One of the most profound changes in my mindset came when I shifted from focusing on the difficulty of the task to focusing on the reward of completing it. Instead of thinking about how hard something would be, I started imagining the feeling of accomplishment I would have when I finished it. This mental shift helped me stay motivated and focused. I started associating action with positive emotions, and that fueled my desire to keep moving forward. I realized that perfectionism was holding me back from making progress. I had to embrace the fact that not everything would be perfect, and that was okay. Done is better than perfect. Waiting for perfection was just another form of procrastination, and it was costing me valuable time. I accepted that the only way to grow was to take imperfect action and learn from my mistakes along the way. By shifting my mindset from procrastination to action, I stopped waiting for the right moment and started making things happen. I learned to act despite fear, to break tasks into manageable steps, and to take consistent action every single day. Over time, these small actions added up, and I began to see significant progress. No longer was I waiting for success to come to me. I was going after it, step by step, moment by moment. If you're ready to stop wasting time and start winning, it's all about taking action today, not tomorrow. Remember, the key to success lies in how you manage your time and the decisions you make. If you found value in this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Keep striving, keep moving forward, and let's make every moment count.